Hello everyone, welcome to ChessVisor, your wise choice to improve your chess. In today's video, I am going to show you an interesting game played between Abhimanyu Mishra and Hans Mock Niemann, and it was 8th round of the Charlotte Chess Center's Grandmaster Norm Fall 2020. So before we check this game, if you are watching this channel for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. So here Abhimanyu Mishra was handling white pieces and I am looking at the game from Black's perspective, that is Niemann's perspective. So here he opens the game with 1 e4. Niemann goes for king's pawn opening. So what opening we have? Knight f3, knight c6. We have Italian opening on board, and Niemann's plays the typical two knights defense. And after this, Mishra closes the pawn chain and also opens the diagonal for the bishop. So Niemann stops the idea of bishop g5 with h6, and not only that, he is delaying his development of the dark square bishop, and also he is indicating to play this move, that is g5. So gaining some space on the king side, and not only that, he is going to attack the king very early. Here Mishra plays c3, and after this Niemann plays d6, and after this he simply castles on the king side. And now, as per the plan, Niemann plays the move pawn to g5. And after this move, he develops another knight, knight b d2. And here he simply starts pushing the pawn with g4 and he kicks the knight. And here you cannot play moves such as knight to h4. It's very clear that we cannot play that move because that knight is there in undefended. So in case if you are wondering what about knight h4, then you could run into this one. So knight takes e4, knight takes e4, and then queen takes h4. And after f4, white can play this game. It's a equal game, but still there are multiple chances are available for black because of the open lines and kingside attack. So going back in the position, the right way to continue the position is to simply drop the knight back to e1. So knight e1. So here he plays h5, defending the pawn and also simply advancing. So here Abhimanyu Mishra plays the f4, and after e takes f4, we have rook takes f4, and now comes bishop to h6, attacking the rook, and the rook drops back to home square. So after this move, he plays queen e7 and knight b3. We have knight e5. The idea is very simple. After if you want to give a check, it is actually going to trap your bishop. So you must react for this threat, or you don't want to give a check here first of all. So first Mishra plays bishop takes h6, and after rook h6, he plays knight to d2 and then bishop to d7. So here after bishop d7, Mishra simply drops the bishop to b3, and then Niemann plays the move pawn to g3 here. It's an excellent move or a brilliant move here. The idea is very simple. He wants to open the line against the king. So for this he plays the move g3. For this you don't want to capture this pawn actually. If you capture like this, then actually your position is lost already. So we can go h4 and followed by a knight f g4. So anything, I think the natural attacking move, I think every move is going to help you to win the game. So going back in the game, Mishra plays h3, keeping the knight away from the king side. But the thing is, here Niemann plays this absolutely crushing brilliant move, that is knight f g4. Because why it's a crushing move? It's not actually a free knight here. As usual, if you take like this, then we can bring the other knight into the same square, and as you can see, this g3 pawn is killing the king's escape squares, and queen h4, and then queen to f2 is a queen to h2 is a checkmate. So I think the checkmate would be inevitable. So here in this position, I think black cannot play the move immediately. Knight takes g4. Sorry for that. I think it is h takes g4 followed by queen h4, because I didn't see this line, the bishop and the coordination of the rook here. So sorry for that. So going back, it's the same variation but in a different manner. So here after knight f g4, he plays queen e2, and here Niemann plays the move knight h2. Going into white's camp. He is attacking the rook. The point is, it is not that he is going to capture the rook immediately. In this position, if you think about say for example in the position he plays queen e3, counter attacking the black's rook here. In this position, if you were to take the rook, and it is going to be a tough game for black. So in this position, instead of knight h2, if you castle on the queen side, then we can play pawn to d4. Then after the after knight moves, then your f7 is falling, and you are losing the game. So going back in the game, he plays knight h2. Mishra plays queen e3, attacking the rook, and the rook simply drops back and keeps the threats alive. So there is no escape square for the white rook now. So he tries rook f4 here. That is the only available square for the time. And after this move, he plays h4, defending g3. And after this, pawn to d4, and now comes knight g6. And I think the rook is now officially running out of the squares. So here he plays knight d3, and after castling, and once he plays rook e1, then only he plays rook e8. So after this, rook e5, then finally Niemann takes on f4. So why he was waiting? Because there was no escape square for the rook, and there was no hurry in capturing the piece. That's why he was waiting, and this is the right time to capture the rook. So in knight takes f4, knight takes f4, we have pawn to c6, and that weakens a d6 square, a very weak square. I mean, that makes a d6 a very weak square. So immediately pointing that he plays knight c4. So here Niemann plays pawn to d5, attacking the knight, but the knight lands on d6 anyway. So with the check and poking the rook, so here he simply gives up the exchange back. So like this, so rook takes c3, rook takes c3, and now we have this brilliant move, rook h6. So why it's a brilliant move? It's simple, because you want to go to rook f6, rook e6, or you want to capture the pawn, depending upon white's response. The idea is rook f6 is a brilliant move, because if you are not careful, if you are say for example rook f6, some random move, then rook to f1 is a checkmate. So for that reason, he plays rook knight e2, saving the knight first. So here, instead of capturing the pawn, he plays rook d6, going for an ending here. So in this position, he captures the rook. So bishop takes e6, and after bishop to c2, king to d7. So here we have to stop and think about this sad knight which is sitting on h2. Actually, it is not a sad knight, because we have to play in such a manner that this light square bishop is going to help this knight to come out of the f1 square. Either it is going to be in this diagonal like this, or advancing the pawns and then bringing the bishop to c8 and then to a6 to rescue the knight. So what is the advantage for black in the position? He is having a pawn extra, and actually this pawn is not a healthy pawn, so he is about to capture the pawn. So as per the evaluation, it is just 1.5 advantage, but strategically I think white is losing the game, because his king cannot involve into the game. So I think these are the 2-3 key factors we should consider from here. So after this move, he plays knight f4, hitting the bishop. After king takes d6, he plays pawn to b4. Now as I was mentioning, bishop has to go to f5 square to counter this diagonal, and also to protect or rescue the knight. But in the game, he plays pawn to b5 first, because we cannot go to f5 immediately. And here Mishra plays a4. After b takes a4, we have bishop takes a4. So here he kind of leaves the diagonal. We could play bishop f5, but in the game he plays bishop to bishop f5. I thought bishop c8 is also a move. So here he plays bishop f5 immediately, and bishop to b3, and now he plays bishop e6 back. And after bishop to a4, he finally plays bishop to c8. And after this move, he plays bishop to d1, trying to oppose the bishop which is coming to the a6 to the f1 diagonal. So he plays it anyway, bishop a6. So after bishop e2, he simply takes the bishop, and now it's a very simple ending. The king has to go to the queen side to grab all these pawns which is sitting on the dark squares. This knight cannot defend all of them. So that is one idea, or you can even bring the king to the same side via the different route. So here instead of going to c7, Niemann plays the move king e6. After this, knight c1, he plays king f5, knight b3. Actually Mishra is trying to rotate the knight to pick up these pawns. So once he takes these pawns, I think there are only four squares away from queening for his pawn. So he tries that way. So king e4, knight a5, f5, knight takes e6. We have pawn to f4. The idea is very simple. He wants to break this structure so that he can pass his own pawn. So I think Mishra needs at least 2-3 tempos extra. So here he plays b5. We have f3, g takes f3, knight takes f3 check, and after this move he plays king f1. In case if you play king to g2, then we can go down this line. There's an interesting variation I would like to show you here. Knight e1 check, king f1, knight d3. Let's say knight takes a7, king f3, b6. So white could pass the pawn, but the problem is black is already winning. So g2 check, king g1, knight c1, simply rerouting the knight to give a check. So b7, knight e2 check, king h2, and then promotion with a checkmate. So going back in the game, instead of king g2, Mishra plays king f1, and here he goes knight g5, trying to pick up the other pawn. So knight e5, knight takes h3. After knight g6, he plays g2 check, forcing the knight trade here with this idea, knight f4 check, because the winning is ending for clearly winning for black, because of the active active king, comparing the king's position. So black king is much more active. So knight takes f4, king takes f4, and actually black does not have to care about the h4 pawn anymore, I guess. So he goes after h4, but the problem is he can simply grab the other pawns. King e4, king takes h4, king d3, king g4, king takes c3, and after king f5 he grabs another pawn. And after king e6 he plays this absolutely fantastic move, that is king c5. So which allows to pass this pawn, and also it threatens the only one pawn for white. So since it's on an elementary endgame, here Abhimanyu Mishra resigns the game. And I hope you enjoyed my quick commentary on this game. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. In case still if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. Please let me know your ideas, thoughts, suggestions in the comment section below. And as usual, this is Chess Wiser, your wise choice to improve your chess.